Breaking news: further demands for the release of hostages have prompted Israel to launch an attack on Gaza. Israeli forces resumed their assault on Gaza on Sunday in response to mounting demands that the Hamas-controlled territory free the hostages who have been detained there for over 2 months following the assault on October 7. On Saturday, following the army's admission that 3 captives were mistakenly killed in Gaza, relatives of the hostages demonstrated against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, demanding an immediate agreement to ensure their release. The most recent estimates from the Israeli authorities put the death toll from Hamas raids into Israel on October 7 at 1,140, with the trio being held captive alongside an estimated 250 others. There have been 18,800 casualties, primarily among women and children. As reported by Hamas in relation to Israel's counteroffensive in Gaza, family members of the hostages pleaded with the Israeli government at a demonstration in Tel Aviv on Saturday. Protester Noam Perry, daughter of hostage Chaim Perry, pleaded with the authorities to consider us and come up with a plan now for negotiation. During a week-long truce last month, mediated by Qatar, 240 Palestinian prisoners were exchanged for over 100 Israelis and foreigners recaptured by Hamas and other militants. On October 7, after hearing about the deaths of the 3 hostages, Netanyahu told reporters, "It broke my heart," doubling down on his war effort. The entire country was devastated. With all the deep sorrow, I want to clarify, the military pressure is necessary both for the return of the kidnapped and for achieving victory over our enemies, said him. Israeli airstrikes on the central city of Deir al-Balah on Sunday killed at least 12 people, according to the Gaza Health Ministry run by Hamas. Israeli air and artillery strikes were also reported by witnesses on the southern municipality of Bani Suhaila, which is east of Khan Yunis, the second city of the Gaza Strip. On Saturday, Netanyahu seemed to address the efforts of Qatar to establish a new truce. "We have serious criticisms of Qatar, about which I suppose you will hear in due course, but right now we are trying to complete the recovery of our hostages," said the president on Saturday. Qatar continued its ongoing diplomatic efforts to renew the humanitarian pause in a statement. However, Hamas stated on Telegram that it would not budge until the aggression against our people ceases completely in regards to negotiations regarding the exchange of prisoners. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced late Saturday that he would be visiting Israel, Bahrain, and Qatar to emphasize the United States' dedications to enhancing security and stability in the region. According to Axios, the Prime Minister of Qatar, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, who was involved in negotiating the previous ceasefire, met with Israeli spy chief David Barnea on Friday at an undisclosed European location. Famine, illness, and compromised immunity. The United Nations estimates that 1.9 million Gazans have been forced to flee their homes as a result of the conflict, which began with Israel's bombing of the territory. A breakdown of civil order is being warned of by the United Nations this week as people in Gaza seize humanitarian aid on their way to the territory due to hunger and desperation. Supplies to the desperate Gazans have been a struggle for international aid organizations. "I would not be surprised if people start dying of hunger, or a combination of hunger, disease, weak immunity," stated Philippe Lazzarini, head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. According to the news organization, a prolonged communications blackout has been in effect throughout Gaza since Thursday night and has persisted for the last 2 days. The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden, which gives billions of dollars in military aid to Israel, is increasingly worried about civilian casualties. The need is urgent for a sustainable ceasefire in Gaza. According to an article in the Sunday Times by UK Foreign Minister David Cameron and his German counterpart Annalena Baerbock, Israeli officials said they were taking a temporary measure to open the Kerem Shalom border crossing so humanitarian supplies could reach Gaza faster in response to growing international pressure. In the midst of Saturday's fierce fighting in Gaza City, the Israeli army claimed responsibility for raiding 2 schools in the northern part of the territory, which it claimed were hiding places for Hamas. According to the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem, an Israeli soldier opened fire on a mother and daughter who were practicing Christians on the premises of the Seoul Catholic Church in the Gaza Strip, killing them. On their way to the sisters' convent, Naida and Samar were ambushed and murdered. The Patriarchate released a statement stating that 1 person was killed while attempting to rescue the other. Samar Abu Daqqa, a cameraman for Al Jazeera, was killed in an Israeli strike. Dozens of journalists attended his funeral in Khan Yunis. the Committee to Protect Journalists reports that since the war started, over 60 journalists and media personnel have died. Erosion of the Red Sea. War has sown discord across the Middle East and stoked fears of more widespread violence. Israel and militants, primarily the influential Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, have been engaged in frequent gun battles along the northern border with Lebanon. In the Marghalit area, close to the border with Lebanon, an Israeli soldier was killed and 2 others were wounded on Saturday, according to the Israeli army. That a hostile aircraft was to blame for the deaths was verified by an official who spoke with AFP after 2 more big companies announced they were rerouting their vessels in response to repeated attacks by Hamas-allied Yemeni rebels. The war has further disrupted the crucial Red Sea shipping route between Asia and Europe. Similar actions were taken on Friday by Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd, and now CMA CGM and Mediterranean Shipping Company, MSC, are following suit. This comes after the Houthi rebels of Yemen, who are backed by Iran, have attacked passing vessels multiple times in the past few days. According to the U.S. military's Central Command, all 14 of the rebels' one-way attack drones were shot down on Saturday without causing any harm to nearby ships or injuries.